Hello, everyone, and welcome to Going Beyond Greatness, Women's Football Leadership. My name is JP Reynal. I'm President and CEO of the Women's Cup, and I'm honored to be here today moderating this panel with some of the top industry executives. I'm going to go ahead and start introducing the executives on the board today and then asking some questions. So I'll start with Julie. Julie is president and co-founder of Angel City Football Club. She was most recently named member of the 2023 Sports Business Journal Game Changers class. She's a member of Adweek's Most Powerful Women in Sports and one of the 100 most creative people in business by Fast Company. In May of 2023, Angel City Football Club was named Sports Team of the Year by Sports Business, which is the first women's team ever to win that category. And before that, Julie, you were Executive Vice President and General Manager of OTT Ventures at Lionsgate. And a warm welcome for Julie Orman, please. So Julie, you built the most valuable women's soccer team in the world. People are saying it's today worth north of $180 million. You generate more sponsorship revenue than almost any or all NWSL teams combined. What is the secret behind the commercial success of Angel City?
Well, first of all, privileged to be here, so thank you. And JP, thank you so much. The secret is investing. It's understanding the value of women's sports, women athletes, the global nature of the sport, and investing ahead of returns. When we sought to bring Angel City to Los Angeles, we received a lot of pushback. There are 11 professional sports teams. You have to compete with the beach and the mountains. A women's professional team 10 years prior had already failed after less than 1 year playing, and there are 2 professional men's teams in the market. So how could a women's team possibly be successful? And the answer was there's a huge youth community. U.S. women's national team does really well when they come and play there, and we wanted to build an experience that was deserving of the players who play it. So it was about investing in the product, the community, the players, and the experience, so that when you went to an Angel City match, you felt like you were at a men's match, and if you weren't there, you had an incredible sense of FOMO.
So the commercial success, which is really second to none in the league with regards to sponsorship revenues, what is the key? How are you going out and selling to these companies, these brands that have never invested in women's football? How are you convincing them that this is the future for them?
Yeah, I mean, Angel City's pitch is very different than I think most traditional sports teams, whether they're men or female, because we have a bigger mission in life, which is really to drive to equity, and that's gender equity and pay equity. And we've built a platform for equity and impact where every decision we make is about how do we have a positive impact in the community, how do we move the sport forward, and how do we drive revenue to prove that women's sports is investable and can deliver returns. And so when we go to partners, we look to see who is value aligned right away, and we say to them, it's not just about saying we're value aligned, but it's showing it. So Angel City created the 10% sponsorship model where 10% of our sponsorship revenue goes back into the community. So we talk to our partners about how do we want to live our values, how do we want to drive equity as it relates to essentials in education. That's one thing that makes us different. And then truly, if you're the right partner, the pitch it sells itself. First of all, whatever you're paying for a women's asset, it's going to be less than the same asset on a men's team. So I might pay $3 million for my front of kit, but if I'm Inter Miami, I'm paying $9 million for it, right? So from a brand perspective, you are getting a value, but a product that I think is growing much faster than men's sports. Second of all, as a partner, as a sponsor, you get a greater share of voice in women's sports. There are fewer sponsors in women's sports. So I might be one of 100 if I'm sponsoring the NFL, but I might be one of 6 if I'm sponsoring the NWSL. So you have a higher share of voice for lower dollars. So I'm already saying that this is a better deal. Right. And then the third thing that women's sports has today and will have, I think, for the next 5 years is brand equity. It means something to support women's sports. It means something to your customers, to your consumers. It means something to the public. If I go out and support the PGA, no one's going to bat an eye. But when Gatorade says they're going to support women's and men's teams equally, when they say they're no longer going to support the NHL, it means something. It's newsworthy. So as a brand, you can do good. You can invest less for more. You get greater share of voice and positive brand equity. It's the best investment in sports today.
Wow. Very confidence. A lot of confidence in that answer. And obviously, when you're sitting in front of these executives, that goes a long ways. Let me turn to my left. Amanda Vandervoort. Let me tell our audience a little bit about yourself. President of the USL Super League, leading the fastest growing connected women's soccer network in the world, including the Professional Super League, pre-professional USLW League, and USL Academy for Girls. You're a former chief women's football officer at FIFPro, the Global Players Association. You've also worked for Major League Soccer for nearly a decade as vice president of fan engagement, social media, and customer relations management. And you're also a member of the United Soccer Coaches, a board director, and a president of the association, which is quite impressive. And finally, you were the head women's soccer coach at New York University. Amazing.
I was.
Amazing. Okay, so, yeah,
Thanks.
please.
Oh, thanks.
I'm telling you, this is the best panel at Soccerex, hands down. You're in the right place today. Okay, so you're launching the USL Super League.
Yeah.
Okay, this is not meant to be a question that's going to put you on the spot as far as, generating conflict, but people are interested, right? What is the strategy behind the launch of the USL Super League, and how can it coexist with the NWSL?
JP, isn't this
Yeah.
why you
sat
sat between us? Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly why I said between you guys.
No, it's great, and I'm happy to answer the question because what a moment we're in, right? With what Julie's talking about, the investments that are going into women's soccer, the opportunity in the women's professional game here in the United States and around the world. We're starting to see that women's soccer is no longer a cost or a place to lose money. Actually, it's an investment that drives return. And so we're seeing it in the NWSL, as Julie's talking about at Angel City, and we're seeing it all across the country. And it's led us to this amazing place with the Super League and the USL, where there are investors, there are sponsors, there are brands, media partners who want more women's soccer. And so the USL Super League, we launch in August of 2024. We've announced our inaugural 8 teams that we'll have in the league. And those ownership groups, the clubs across the United States are investing. We're investing in infrastructure, in stadiums, in players, in training facilities, and in the future and the growth of the game. So you'll see the USL grow from this number of teams now. We've actually already announced 13 of our clubs over the next several years, where we'll be launching, in cities like Indianapolis, Indy 11 Park in downtown Indianapolis. They're a $1 billion facility with a 20,000-seat stadium in downtown Indianapolis. And they'll have a Super League team there too. So for us, it's about infrastructure and building for the future. Historically, women haven't had these stadiums. When you look at what we're doing in Kansas City, with building a stadium exclusively for women, and now with the USL, men's and women's soccer in these shared facilities, it's an incredible opportunity, and I think a huge, moment in the future of women's soccer.
Wow. It's going to be very interesting. And we're going to get to you actually in a minute, because you have one of the owners of the
Indeed
expansion
we do.
team.
Yeah, of a
But we'll get to
W League
Ashley
team.
in a minute. Let me introduce Mariana Gutierrez. Mariana? Mariana brought her fan club from Mexico.
Thanks to you.
President of Liga MX Femenil since 2019. You were previously a supervisor for the National League of the Mexican Football Federation, a certified coach in Mexico, hold certifications also from CONCACAF and FIFA. You have a master's in football business from the Johan Cruyff Institute, and you are responsible, and I can vouch for this, for the incredible growth of women's soccer in Mexico, which recently has posted incredible numbers, both in attendance to your matches and in TV audience. So, a welcome to Mariana Gutierrez, please.
Hey, guys.
So the first question is, Mariana, what is the key to the success of Liga MX, and how do you envision, or what is your strategy for the continued growth?
Well, thank you, JB, for that incredible introduction. I'm very happy to share this panel with these incredible women, ladies. I think that in order to talk about Liga MX Femenil success, I would talk about 3 key components. The first one would be the governing body and the corporate structure. We were born very different, like usual women leagues are born in the world. And that allowed us to have or share infrastructure, sport facilities, big venues. But it also allowed us to have an incredible team that is working for the Liga MX Femenil since 6 years ago with the major brands. This is the second key component. So Liga MX clubs, I call them brands, have the opportunity to have two professional teams that, as Amanda just said, they have the opportunity to invest, to drive return, right? So these major brands learn in this experience that they also need to grow and grow fast because the sport is growing fast, and they also have to adapt. I think that was a major challenge. Let's show the guys about. Let us teach them about women's football. So with those major brands like Club America, Chivas, Rayadas, Tigres, we were born with a fan base, and that was a huge leverage. It was tiny, but it was very loyal. And those fan base, what it gave us is that you need to improve, and you need to improve fast, because they demand an incredible showcase, they demand a high quality product. So we had to adapt very fast, and that means growth and expanding the market. So we get to know these ladies because our clubs and our fan base demands competition. We just heard CONCACAF saying competition drives development. So we need also that competition. We have the huge opportunity also to become a global brand. I think that's not that easy for men's league, right? So they build incredible partnerships with West Coast, for example, Angel City, with San Diego Wave, with Seattle Reign, and that has also let us expand to USA. Just the last season, and thanks to incredible partners that we have here, or with the European teams that I saw there, I think Fernando Carro with Bayer Leverkusen, we had a reach of 15 million viewership just for the past season. So our numbers keep increasing because we have an incredible showcase we want to deliver. No?
And I saw you last year for the finals, you drew almost 3 million TV audience.
Yeah, just for the final. That was an incredible achievement from our clubs, because we also, as you said, when we had that investment, we had the opportunity to have major stakeholders since the beginning, like broadcasters, right? So we have 100% of viewership for all of our TV, for all of our matches. So we have free TV that gave us 3 million viewers for our finals, but also we had a major record attendance in Azteca Stadium with 58,000 people.
Wow.
We have a challenge. We want a sold-out venue for. They make it to the finals. Maybe we can achieve that. But yes, it's growing, and it's growing fast.
Well, we'll get back to you for another question, and now I'd like to introduce Ashley Fons-Comer. I'll tell everybody about Ashley, another incredible person on the panel today who has, well, let me go ahead and tell the people that you were the first female of color to be elected and serve as president of the United Soccer Coaches. You're the founder and CEO of the Women's Soccer Strategic Management Authority. You're the co-founder of the nationally renowned Girls Academy League. You're the founding executive and first in charge, you were, of the Washington Spirit, which now belongs to Michelle Kang. You were a record-setting FSU women's soccer player. And now, and this is perhaps the biggest moment of your career today, you're the founder and CEO of Tallahassee Reckoning, which is an expansion team. Yes, please. That is joining Amanda's USL Super League in 2024, 25.
The W League.
W League.
W League.
Yes.
25, correct?
W
Or
League.
24?
24, yeah.
24. So, Tallahassee is a smaller, non-traditional market for professional sports. What are you doing there, the vision? How does it tie into the larger and fragmented women's soccer landscape?
Well, thank you for the introduction. Privileged to be here with everybody. Just out of curiosity, who's familiar with Tallahassee?
Wow.
Oh, okay. Familiar with it because of Florida State football? Okay, probably. And how about our women's soccer team? Yeah, right? Okay. So for those that aren't familiar with Tallahassee, we have a very unique situation. And as you can see in my bio, I like progression and trying to continually build what's needed in the women's soccer space. Tallahassee is a small market, like he said. We have in our county, we have just shy of 300,000 people. Our next closest metropolitan area is Orlando. It's 4 hours away. Then Tampa sits right next to it. Jacksonville is another larger city, and that's 2.5 hours away. Atlanta is the next biggest one, that's 5 hours away. So what I'm trying to create a picture of is that our players, our coaches, our community, our fans, our competitions, if we want to get to that next level, they are chasing dreams outside of Tallahassee, which creates more barriers, because who are the people that can do that? It's the ones that have that disposable income, that have the access to resources, transportation, the right family situation. Okay, so what we're trying to do now is we are emerging one step at a time with Tallahassee Reckoning out of Tallahassee, Florida. We are trying to break down those geographic and institutional barriers for our female athletes and for our larger community through women's soccer, which is the beauty of it, right? We are doing that by bringing in expert women's soccer resources for monthly programming to develop those kids that are traveling out, along with our coaches. And then we are, like he said, going to launch our W League and Reserves team to play in May of 2024 with USL. And we're continually looking to see how we can build that pipeline even further. So we're in conversations to build a stadium and facility to support our development of our players and coaches. And then we'll work on our bid to hopefully go pro within 3 years. That's the dream. We are impact-driven, player-centered, and community-fueled. It is so incredibly important that we test this model, prove that it will work, but not only work, it'll be sustainable, successful, and thrive. Why is that significant? Well, most of the U.S. is rural, isn't it? We see that in the political maps. It's rural. So we can't continue to reinforce these institutions of only the people that live in the right areas, have the right support, have the ability to get that access. We can't reinforce those barriers. So if we're successful, this is a model that then can be replicated. And then it provides, again, that access to opportunity for our players, for our coaches, for our competitions, and for our fans.
Wow, amazing.
Can I offer some context on
course,
the Super
of
League and the
course.
W League? Because I
Please
think
do.
it's really important that we understand kind of the USL ecosystem. So we launched the W League, which is what Ashley's team is in the W League, in 2022. We launched it with 44 clubs across the country. Next year, we'll have 85 teams. Wow. The W League is pre-professional, meaning all of our players in that league are amateur. And a lot of what we think about through the W League is the pathway. So you heard Ashley talk about the pathway for her club to go pro. We think a lot about the pathway for players. So the W League is a space, mostly top collegiate athletes are playing in the W League. It's about 85% top collegiate athletes from across the country are playing in the W League from May to July every summer. And we're very, very proud of the W League and how it's developed. That's separate from the Super League, which launches next fall. And good to know, I talked earlier about some of the similarities between us and the NWSL, but some of the differences in the Super League are that we'll be on the international calendar. So we'll play from August through until June with our championship that following summer, 2024. Okay. So within this entire USL ecosystem, you've got the summer months that complements those top college players, and then you've got the professional season happening the rest of the year, and just like the rest of the world. So that's the USL ecosystem and kind of the differences between our league, the others, but the similarities that exist. And we couldn't be more proud than to have Ashley's vision and what she's bringing, and to be able to facilitate and create a space for women and women leadership, women owners, women presidents and founders of clubs, along with the players as well. For us, it's about more opportunities for more women in more communities across this country.
Fantastic. Well, let me take advantage of the fact that you explained the concept of the ecosystem of the USL and ask you, Is there an idea in the future to have a promotion relegation system between the W League and the Super League? Will there be movement between those two leagues, or how do you foresee this?
That's a great question. Those two leagues, the Super League and the W League, are really different in that the players, again, they're amateur in the W League. We don't see promotion and relegation from an amateur into a professional team unless, like Ashley, proven her model and wants to move into the professional game. Now, in the future, could there be promotion and relegation in our professional game? Absolutely. But we're not there yet, and we believe that we need to build not only immediate viability in the Super League and ensuring that we have a successful launch of our season and years to come, but the long-term sustainability. And part of that could very well be promotion and relegation. But we have to work to get there to make sure that our business fundamentals remain successful over the years to come.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Amanda. Okay, back to you, Julie. You told me the other day the NWSL is growing faster than the MLS ever did, Messi aside,
Let's hope.
right? We know about Messi here in Miami, a little bit about him.
Just a little bit.
Why, and you talked a little bit about this before, but I'd like you to expand on it. Why is it important for companies to get in now into your league and lock in value?
Yeah, I mean, you want to get in while there's growth, while there's still opportunity to have impact and say in the strategy and the direction. We just added 2 new teams in the NWSL that are going to be starting in 2024, Bay FC and the Utah Royals. Bay FC and Boston, which is entering in 2026, paid expansion fees each of $53 million. Wow. And when I talked about growing faster than the MLS, we crossed 50 million in expansion fees in 11 years. It took them 13 years. Wow. So I'll take that as a data point and extrapolate that to the NWSL is growing faster than the MLS. But we're starting to see it in attendance. We're starting to see it in viewership. We're starting to see it in sponsorship support. You talked about how Angel City is driving the greatest amount of ticket revenue, sponsorship revenue, and attendance, and that's all true. But what we've seen even in the last year is how the other clubs are looking at our model of investment and starting to replicate that on their side, and the returns are there. We had an incredible championship game, an incredible weekend. We had 7,000 fans come to the Fan Fest. We had over 25,000 people that came to watch Seattle Reign play the champions, the New York, New Jersey, Gotham FC, and that was a record-breaking attendance. So what you're seeing is every time the NWSL puts itself out there, they're breaking a record, they're breaking a data point, they're breaking a revenue number, and that's because this idea that people don't care about women's sports, they don't watch women's sports, they don't invest in women's sports, it's just actually false. And when you make it easy for them to come to a match, to watch a game, to buy a shirt, they are doing it. And so it's our job to share those stories. It's our job to say how much money we're making and how many fans we have and the records that we're breaking to start to change the mindset that's false and then give people an opportunity to get involved.
Fantastic, fantastic. Back to you, Amanda. There's a lot of talk happening, and I think it's ramped up quite a bit after the Women's World Cup with regards to where women's club soccer or even national team soccer stands at the international level. There used to be a time where American women clubs and players were at very, very top, very little competition. Now in the last World Cup, and because of the growth of women's club soccer in Europe, there's a lot of competition. What can you do as USL president for women's club soccer to make sure the U.S. does not lose competition, quality and level against other European challengers, leagues, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, we see it. I mean, if you look at the success even of the English women's national team and their rise over the years and the impact that their professional league, their domestic league has had on the success of that team, I mean, I think we can all see that professional soccer creates that environment. The professionalism of the women's game will advance our national team here in the United States and around the world. Mexico, the U.S., our Dutch friends are here. We actually just took a trip out to see the Champions League final. 6 of our ownership groups went to the Netherlands to visit the Dutch Federation and watch in Eindhoven the Champions League final. And I think for us as owners of professional teams, to make sure that we understand what's happening around the rest of the world, how people are investing, what the conditions are like for players, and how we're developing, how other countries are developing those athletes, is important for us here in the United States to understand. So we really do look at the global soccer ecosystem. I love being at Soccerex because people from all around the world are here sharing ideas and collaborating and building the future of this game together. And we're really intent on being part of that. But not only that, being the United States and the investments that are happening in our game here, I think we talk a lot about our opportunity and responsibility to being part of driving that growth into the future.
Okay, thank you. Mariana, back to you. You suggested to the General Assembly of Mexican Football Federation that they separate women's football rights from the men's. And you now have exclusive deals with major companies such as Nike. That is an exclusive Liga MX Femenil sponsor, correct? What is the key, or was this a key step to ensure the visibility and the autonomy of the women's game in Mexico?
I would say it's actually the fourth key component, that it's an outcome of the first three. And it's the most important thing that has been happening around for Mexican football, especially for women's, because as you know, we have a new ecosystem. We have a new high commissioner in Mexican football industry, and his first decision was including the Liga MX Femenil in the executive committee. So now we are part of the ecosystem, the industry that drives the future, the changes we need on our football. But on the other side, it was one way, we asked this because it was a new way to attract new investors. We had to be disruptive enough to explore new markets, to expand, to capitalize that growth, right? And in order to do that, you cannot follow the same rules. So we don't want to become independent from the men's side. We just want to be different and still, because that's one of our strengths. But also one of our biggest weaknesses is depending on them. So actually doing this call, what makes us is not dependable of them and still having those major brands with us and still driving that growth together, but in a different way. And that will help us, as I said, become a global brand, because we have that opportunity to explore new markets, not just USA, that I think it's very appealing for us, but it's also very appealing to our fan base that we want to keep increasing and we want to drive that exposure. You know? Nike, that was one of the things that it was more attractive for Nike, because we are the league that it's the fastest growing sport in Mexico, and we delivered all those needs that Nike is searching for.
Wow. Super interesting. We're down on the last few minutes. We're going to close it out with you, Ashley. Before we got on the panel, you mentioned to me that, well, you were living in D.C., you moved to Tallahassee, right, which was quite a change.
Definite change.
Definitely, right? So today, women's professional soccer is growing a lot in metropolitan areas, but you believe it shouldn't follow the men's model, and it should hit up smaller markets. And you talked a little bit about this before, but I'd like you to go in deeper in how you feel, what is the pathway for this to happen, and what are you doing about it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'll try to keep it short because I see this ticking. It's like the pressure of running 120s again in college, and you just got to make it. You got to make it. I think the impact that we can make is unmeasurable when we all decide as a collective to come together, sit at a table and say, we are doing this for a greater purpose, for a purpose that will outlive all of our lifetimes. So when we have models like Julie that's proven to be extremely successful and burst the bubble, it's like, now how do we start to replicate that in those larger markets, but then start to reinvest into the smaller market communities? I would highly hope and advise that we don't continue down the path of monopolies. like that we see that's been institutionally established on the men's side in different professional leagues. It creates very exclusive environments with multi-billion-dollar owners, and people just can't get in. Kids can't get access, fans can't get access, right? I hope we can lead with a humanistic centric approach and say, and remember that soccer belongs to all. Like, bottom line, like, we need access to opportunity for everyone.
Fantastic. Well,
I beat it.
you made it.
I got it. I got back.
Nobody can see the
No
clock,
extras.
but we have 7 seconds left, so enough time
Like-
to thank Ashley, Amanda, Julie, Mariana. Big round of
Thank
applause.
you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.